What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Evan and I'm an online reseller. That means I go to places like garage sales and thrift stores looking for items that I can flip online for a profit. And on Tuesdays, I show you some of the cool stuff that I sold this past week on eBay, stuff that you can maybe look out for yourself. I also try and do like some kind of magic trick or special effect, but this week I'm kind of struggling. So I'm gonna finish my coffee and we'll just get into it. Where did it? This is a new brand for me. It's called Oboz or Oboz. Not really sure how to pronounce it.
Oboz?
Oboz. But I saw them at Goodwill, noticed they were in good condition and seemed to be really good quality hiking boots. So I decided to look them up. Sure enough, they were bringing some decent money and the sell-through rate was really good. I paid $8.50 for these at Goodwill and they sold on eBay in about 2 weeks for $59.50. So this never happens to me. I sold 2 pairs of shoes to the same person and they're both Merrells, but they're definitely different sizes. Like this is a size 13, these are a size 9.5. Like I said, they're going to the same person. But either way, I've got $40 a piece for both of them. Paid $6 for these when I was up in Virginia at a Salvation Army. Paid $6.50 for these from my local Goodwill. So going in the same box, $80 from $12.50, I'll take it. So this is a pretty cool jacket if you're a Carolina fan, which I'm not, obviously. But I paid $5.75 for it from Goodwill. It's a vintage logo athletic University of South Carolina Gamecocks jacket. Got the big Gamecock on the back here. It took a while to sell, I'm assuming because it's been pretty hot here in South Carolina. But it's cooling down and this thing finally sold for $70 on eBay. I'm definitely learning some new shoe brands. These are Kizik, K-I-Z-I-K. Never heard of them before. I believe somebody on Instagram mentioned them, so I knew to pick them up when I saw them at Goodwill. They only wanted $6.50 for them. They were in good condition. Took about a month to sell, but they sold for $65 on eBay. So be on the lookout for Kiziks. So this long thing is actually a map. It's got the world on one side, the US on the other, and it's one of those maps like your teacher would pull up and down in middle school. Like every school in the US probably had one, and people really like them apparently. But I paid $7 for it from Goodwill. I thought it would make a cool backdrop in my office. I could pull down the world one day and the US the next, and yeah, I never got around to doing that. So I decided to list it on eBay, and apparently somebody else liked it too because it sold for $149.50. So be on the lookout for these old school maps.
I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map.
Truly an amazing sale here. This is a pair of vintage Levi's Corduroy pants. Found them at Goodwill. My wife and I stopped at a random Goodwill after dinner one day and I was looking at pants. I typically don't even look at pants, but I noticed these were vintage and they were new with tags. Couldn't find any comps. I bought them anyway. I knew somebody would want some vintage Levi's. They're only $4.75. Brought them home, looked them up on Terapeak and saw that a pair had sold a while back for like $100. So I listed mine for $130, and after about 2 months I got an offer of $115. Decided to take it. The cool thing is, got 2 pair. They're both going to the same buyer. Buyer paid $230 for these 2 pair of pants. Actually, it went through the global shipping program and the buyer's all in like $377. So $475 times 2 into $230. That's pretty good on a couple pair of pants. Vintage t-shirt going out. This is This Old House t-shirt from that show starring Bob Vila from back in the day, I guess 2001 to be exact. Picked this up from Goodwill, paid $1.50 for it, brought it home, and the comps on it were kind of crazy. Not value-wise, but sell-through rate. This thing was selling like hotcakes. I paid $1.50 for it. It sold for $21.50 and it sold in a day. Probably could have raised the price a little bit, but that seems to be what they were going for. You guys are going to get tired of me showing you popcorn buckets from Disney World, but they sell really well on eBay. Paid $3 for 3 buckets. You've already seen the first 2. This is the last one that sold. It's also the least valuable. This Mickey Christmas popcorn bucket sold for $25 on eBay. This was a new brand for me. It's called Arborwear, and the sell-through rate on them is really good. There's a couple different models, and unfortunately this is the lower end model, but I paid $4 for them from Goodwill, and they still sold for $30 in like a week. There's some with a reinforced knee pad made for guys that climb trees. Those sell for a lot more, so definitely be on the lookout for Arborwear. So I actually thought these would sell for a little bit more. These are Dansko vegan shoes. They're cloth instead of leather, I guess. But I paid $2 for them from a garage sale. I figured they'd sell for like 30 or 40, but I've had them for a while. Finally got an offer for 25 bucks, decided to take it. Pretty quick sellers here. These are both Cobra Baffler XL golf clubs. This is a pitching wedge, and this is a Fly Z7 hybrid. Paid about $5 a piece from a garage sale on Saturday. Listed them on Sunday, and they actually sold the same day for $49.99 a piece. All right, so I would love to know from you guys, what are people doing with this stuff? This is Microsoft Office Home and Student from 2010. What are people doing with this stuff? It always tends to sell really well for me. Paid 50 cents for this copy from Salvation Army, and it sold for 28 in like 2 days. Sold a Funko Pop, which is unusual for me, but what's even more unusual is it was actually retail arbitrage. I was in Walgreens one day, I think picking up a prescription, saw they had these on clearance for $2. Figured it'd be worth it. Sure enough, I got 3 or 4 of them, and this is the first one that sold. Sold for $18.95. Not a huge profit on this one, but an interesting story. My wife and I stopped at a thrift store in Fayetteville, North Carolina. On our way to Raleigh, North Carolina, we grabbed a bite to eat in Fayetteville, decided to go to a thrift store, paid $2 for this Nike Team Elite Duke University basketball jersey, and it sold on eBay for $26. The interesting part is it's actually going back to Fayetteville where I bought it from. I always have good luck selling Qigong and Qi DVDs if they're new and sealed. I pick them up from Goodwill. They're only $1, and same thing with this one. It was $1 at Goodwill. Figured I'd take a chance on it. Didn't look it up. Probably should have. It only sold for $9.50. So after shipping and fees, not a huge profit, but still worth taking a chance on, I guess. You guys already know I love selling hats. Paid $1 for this Corvette hat. It is actually new with tags. Picked it up at Goodwill, and it sold in about a week for $19.95. This is a Dremel router attachment, and honestly I would not buy this on its own to resell. I've had it for over a year. The sell-through rate's not good at all, and like I said, it took a year to sell. I've paid nothing for it though. It was in a box of military stuff that I got from a garage sale, so it was basically free. I figured if I had it, I might as well list it. Well, it took a year to sell, but it sold for $21. Picked up this Clemson Nike dry fit track jacket from a garage sale. Lady actually had a bunch of Clemson stuff. I bought 4 or 5 different pullovers and whatnot. It was summertime, so I knew it would take a while to sell, but she only wanted $3 a piece, and they were in excellent condition. Well, it's finally getting a little colder, and this thing sold for $35 on eBay. I learn more and more about golf clubs every day, and the main thing I'm learning now is to look up everything, because stuff that I didn't think would have value actually does. For example, this Titleist Pro Trajectory 3-wood. Thought maybe I could get $15 or $20 for it. It was in a bag of clubs that I got from a garage sale, so it was basically free. I wasn't counting on it, and actually looked it up, and it was selling for pretty good money. Definitely worth my time. Sold for $39.50 in like a month. You guys already know I pick up just about any vintage t-shirt that I find at Goodwill because they're only $1.50 in our town, and this is kind of an interesting one that sold. I'll just pop it up here and let you read it. It's from the Cayman Islands. Paid $1.50 for it, and it sold for $19.95. So I picked up a box full of Micro Machine stuff from a thrift store, paid $6 for it, pulled the cars out, sold those at auction last week for $23. And then this is a box full of random accessories, pieces, play sets. Didn't really feel like trying to put everything together, so I threw it all up on a table, took some pictures of it, put it up for auction, and it just sold for $19. Truthfully, I thought vintage Micro Machine stuff would sell for more than this, and maybe if I'd put it up at a set price, I could have got more for it, but either way, I'm happy to see it go. I am so glad to see this thing go. This is the G.I. Joe Night Raven from 1986. Picked it up in a big lot of G.I. Joe stuff from a garage sale. I've got maybe $1 into this thing. It's broken, missing pieces, it's dirty, nasty, and it's been taking up a lot of room. But I paid maybe, like I said, $1 for it, and it sold for $50. Picked up this genuine Harley Davidson embroidered long sleeve t-shirt from Goodwill. Paid $4.75 for it just because I thought it was cool, and Harley stuff does eventually sell. Well, I just looked at the username and saw who this was, and just want to say thanks, Ron. I appreciate you picking this up. You really didn't have to do that, but this thing sold for $29.50. Definitely an older club here, but you already know ping equals cha-ching. This is a Ping i3 11-degree driver. Like I said, it's a really old club. It's in decent condition. I've got, I think, $2 into it from a garage sale, and it sold for $47.50. So I'm always on the lookout for these LL Bean. They call them hurricane shirts. I call them work shirts or chore shirts. They're real thick, heavy-duty shirts. They're flannel lined, and they always sell really quick. I paid $4.75 for this one from Goodwill, and it sold in 2 days on eBay for $34.50. I usually pick up Champion reverse weave stuff when I see it. Unfortunately, this one was not vintage, or it's almost vintage. I think it's from the 2000s based on this tag. Size small, so kind of a smaller size. Washington and Lee University, so not a huge nationally known school, I don't think. But either way, this thing still sold. Paid $4.75 for it from Goodwill, and it sold for $34 on eBay.